I saw in your annual report, there's a number of complaints received, which is not unusual, of course, for any organisation, but poor communication was at 3% in 2020, 4% or nearly 5% in 2021, but then it jumped to 10% in 2023. What was the reason behind that? Why the huge increase in complaints around poor communication? Is that poor communication to the individuals within who are, in the care of Tusla, or anyone want to comment on that? Because it seems like a sizable jump.
Yeah, I think the first thing is we've put a real focus over the last 3 years on service user feedback. So actually we want to hear, and I think that's something that maybe we hadn't been, promoting as much, and that's positive feedback, but it's also complaints. And that's a system we see in terms of learning. I don't have the detailed breakdown there around the communication, but one of the real significant parts of our reform programme is around, better supporting staff, better supporting service users, so that there aren't, opportunities or concern in relation to communication. And where we see that there is an issue or where a service user has felt that they have not been communicated with appropriately, we do respond to that.
Well, can I just say, in the time I have remaining, and Mr. Smith, you'll remember that I raised this issue before when you were last before us, and that is around poor communication within the organisation. And that is something as simple as a business card for social workers, and indeed contact details that actually get in touch with the social workers. And I say that from experience on behalf of constituents, finding it extremely difficult to make contact between social work staff who've left, no one ideally readily available to take over the case, or indeed those who are on the case, and very, very difficult to contact. Has any changes been made in relation to that and it's not for us public representatives, but it's actually more importantly for the public who are dealing with Tusla, to ensure that they can contact the social worker and indeed get feedback from their social worker?
So I think there's two things to say there. I think that actually came up when I referred to the foster care strategy. That was something that came up, that foster carers told us that they felt frustrated that they couldn't contact. So in terms of, we're trying to strike the balance between access to our social work staff during work hours, and making sure that if that goes to an officer to a work mobile, those details are available, and that people understand we have an out-of-hours service 24 hours.
No,
I know
you
won't talk directly.
But specifically,
so,
just specifically about
the work mobile number.
On cards?
No, we don't have business cards, and that's something we certainly can look at. Not consistency across the service.
And why is that? Because this is an issue I raised, Chair, before, and I at the time I was told it was going to be examined. That was 13 months ago, and now you're telling me that it's still not there. I mean, you have to appreciate from the public's perspective, who are dealing with the agency, who are, the social worker can have a huge impact on their lives, and yet they can't contact them. I find that astonishing. 13 months later, you're still kind of wondering about it, and there's no consistency across the organisation.
I think that's a reasonable point, Deputy.
It was 13 months ago.
No. Could I point out, one of the issues we have is protection of staff. So there is an issue. There is an absolute issue about giving out those kind of details. I mean, it's one thing to give a number to somebody, it's a completely different thing to have a business card that gets around the place. We've a lot of abuse of staff.
I appreciate that too. We've dealt with that before.
That is at the core of this. So that is one of the reasons why people are reluctant to
give it
to
on
do
a
that.
card. But
we've tried to come up with other.
One's not saying they're personal details. I appreciate that, and work mobiles are commonplace. But I have to say, from the public's perspective, and they're not all individuals who would cause hassle or danger to their workers. But the fact that there's no consistency across the organisation,
not about the business card part.
I know, but that kind of, the business card follows on into communication of the organisation. So, but anyway, I'd ask you to come back to us with a note on that, as well as the other issues. Thank you, Chair.